Okie dokie. In this video, I'm taking a look at configuring Tailwind for use in a SvelteKit project along with daisyUI. So daisyUI is a Tailwind CSS component plugin for Tailwind CSS. Super handy, and I'm just going to go ahead and get started so we can take a look at it shortly. But first up, I'm going to need to create a SvelteKit project. I'm going to do that with npm init, and the command is svelte at next. The at next is because SvelteKit is still in public beta. Once it gets to v1, the at next will go away and it'll just be npm init svelte. So this project is going to need a folder as well. I can define that now. And just going to hit enter and follow the options here. I'm going to take a skeleton project, no to TypeScript, no to ESLinting, and I'll just say yes to prettier. I'm going to follow the steps from here, which is cd into the project. Then I can use npm to install the dependencies. I'm going to be using pnpm here. So now they are installed. This is an optional command. I'm going to be using this so we can watch the changes which are happening as we configure Tailwind. So I've created a Git repository here and just done an initial commit. Okay, so next up is to run the dev command here. Before I do that, if we take a look at this link here for community maintained integrations, if I click that, and of course it's opened up in the other window. Let's bring this over here. This is for SvelteAdd. This is for integrations and other functionality to be added to your Svelte projects. We scroll down a bit further. We've got one for Tailwind CSS. Let's click on that and take this npx command here. If you're wondering what this copy box is here, this is from, we find GitHub. It's a browser extension. Okay, let's go back on over to my terminal and scroll back down to the bottom here. I'm going to open up VS Code, my text editor of choice. So if I let's do a bit of window management here. Put VS Code here, put the browser over here, and the terminal down here. So if I run the dev command now, and go to scrolled up a bit there, localhost 3000. So clicking on that, this brings up the SvelteKit skeleton project. It's got the base browser styles in here. So if I go and kill the dev server with Control C, and then paste in that command, and this will configure Tailwind. So you might notice that a couple of files got added in here. One thing to note is the layout file got added. This brings in the app.css file for Tailwind here. So if I go to the source control panel, it's a bit bigger just while we go through these changes. So I've got the layout files created along with the app.css package JSON got updated with some additional dependencies for Tailwind CSS. Got the post CSS config file. The Svelte config had the pre-process added to it for the SvelteKit config. And now I've got the Tailwind config file here. Move that back there. So close that side panel. Close that. Okay, so that got configured, but it didn't get installed. So I'm going to need to run pnpm install here. Now that's installed, I can run the dev command. And you'll see that the skeleton project got updated over on the left here. So now if I go over to the index file, let's say, and you'll notice this squiggle. Looks like there's an issue with the Svelte config. There isn't. So what I'm going to do is just go from the commands palette and say reload window. And that usually makes that go away. which it has. Okay, so now I can go into my markup here on my Svelte page, and I can add in a class, and then add in some Tailwind classes. So let's just do text or Excel, and then save that. And then it's got updated over here. Realsies. Okay, let's we don't want to go to that link, which is there. Okay, so there was one other thing I wanted to do before we wrap up, and that is take a quick look at daisyUI. So daisyUI, like I said at the beginning of the video, Tailwind CSS components. So let's just go ahead and install this. Just going to go over to my terminal here, kill the dev server, and install this as a dev dependency. That's what the -D is for. Now that is installed, I'm going to need to configure it. So if I go over to the components here and then say config, and then I can just copy this plugins array here, go on over to my Tailwind config, pop out that side panel, and scroll down to Tailwind config, and close that side panel. And for all the plugins, it's going to paste that in there, save it, go over to localhost 3000 and run the dev command. And that's now updated with the default daisyUI theme, which is, I think it's dark. Where is it? Yeah, I think it's this one. Okay, so that's it for getting daisyUI configured. There are a couple of other options as well. So you might have noticed over here, it says themes 22. So if you look at the themes here, there are like 22 themes to pick from. You can narrow that down if you like, which is this option here. So if we just copy that over to the Tailwind config here, let's paste it in. And let's just reduce this down to synthwave. And so if I need to save, that's going to change all of the default colors over to synthwave. Brilliant. Okay, so one last thing. Let's just take a quick look at some of the components. The buttons. Where are the buttons? Here we go. Right. Scroll down. Let's just take this block here and just YOLO copy paste this into the index page. Paste it in there and hit save, I guess. Then we've got all of our buttons, which they've all got hover state on them. And we've got like this ghost button and a link as well. And these are all defined with what you can see here is 2 classes or 1 class even. It's great. It's pretty neat. I really do like using daisyUI for most of the stuff I work with. Like I've said, it's got a ton of pre-configured components you can use. You can also customize your own theme. You can use it without any themes and just use the utility classes that come with it. For the colors, we can see them here. And this is really handy if you are trying to pick out like a color to use in a component which you're building. You've got all of the colors mapped out here. So I know all these say background, but it does map to background, text, border, all this stuff here, which you can sort of fold into your classes which you want to use with Tailwind. It's great. Okay, so I think that's it really. We've just gone through, configured a SvelteKit project to use Tailwind and daisyUI. That's it for this one. I hope you found it useful, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.